Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Pattercrafts, and today I'm here with a design team project for Scrapping for Less. Today we'll be using this stamp set here from Sunny Studio. It's called Chickie Baby. Also be bringing in the Spring Fling pattern paper pad from Sunny Studio. This is some 6x6 pattern paper. We'll take a quick look through this just so you can get an idea of what kind of pattern paper is in here. It is double-sided, which everyone knows I absolutely love double-sided pattern paper, but also hate it if I love both sides. So that's the pattern paper we'll be using. And I'm going to be making some tiny boxes today, some tiny treat boxes. So we'll be using this die that I have in my stash from Lawn Fawn. I believe it's called the Tiny Box die. So to start off my boxes, I'm going to need some pattern paper. I opted to make my boxes out of pattern paper instead of white cardstock because there's no dies that go with this set to fill in all those empty spaces, and I just really like the way the pattern paper all came out. I think that's probably what it was intended for when they created it, and it was just a lot of fun to make these boxes today. So I trimmed down my paper because my Cuttlebug does not like 6x6 pattern paper. It tends to bend the edges, so I had to trim that down. I just trimmed them down to 4 3/4, which was definitely big enough to fit my die, but small enough to go right through my Cuttlebug. So I'm just going to go through and die cut all these pattern papers. Now, what I did learn from making these is that if your pattern paper goes in one direction, like the flowers, you have to be aware of how you think you're going to display this, because either the lid will be upside down or like your front where the flap closes will be upside down, unless you kind of put the flap to the back, and then the top and the side should be the same direction. So you just want to be aware of that. This die also scores where you need to fold in order to put the boxes together. Super simple. You could use a scoring tool for this, but I just like a bone folder. I just bent them. It was pretty simple. It didn't take hardly any time. I think it would have been longer to use a bone folder than to just use my fingers. So we're going to go ahead and get these all together, and then I am bringing in some score tape to put these boxes together. You could use any kind of adhesive that you want. I chose not to use liquid glue because I didn't want to have to hold the box there for the moment that it might take for the glue to kind of dry and hold it together. And my ATG tape runner is just kind of big and cumbersome for these teeny little places. So I thought the score tape was the best bet for this. Also, the score tape is going to hold it into place really well, especially if you are adding treats, or if this is going to, be opened and closed a few times. It definitely helps hold these boxes together really nicely. So we're just going to go ahead and put this together, close the little lid, and there we go. I am not showing you putting all of them together. I showed the one, so I think you can get how the rest went. So we're going to move on to stamping all of our images. I am stamping out all of the little chicks in the stamp set, and there are a lot of them. I like how some of them have their eyes open, some look like their eyes are closed, and some of them are kind of turned a little, and then some are kind of turned the other way a little. So you could really create some really cool scenes. You could put two together so they're facing each other. I thought these little chicks were just adorable. I also stamped out some Easter eggs and some Easter bunny ears and the little cracked egg there, as you can see. So I am stamping them all out with some Copic friendly markers because I will be Copic coloring these images. I won't show all of the Copic coloring, and I apologize that for some of these I didn't put in exactly the colors I used, but I can let you know that the yellows I used were Y06, Y11, Y15, Y21, YR31, and Y38. And then for the orange, for the little chick beaks and their feet, I used the YR07. So those are all the Copics. Obviously, I didn't use all those Y markers for each one, but I used the combination of those markers for these chicks. I tried to make them a variety of different shades. So like this first chick, you notice he's a little more yellow than this second chick is going to be. So we'll go ahead. The coloring is pretty easy. These images are not too small, but they're not really large either. So big enough to do some ink blending, but not so big that the colors didn't blend nicely together. So going ahead and coloring in my Easter egg, I have a couple different purples here. I think I used the V04 and the V25. And then I brought in some blues and I used the B00 and B05 because that's kind of what I have. But my B05 ended up being like a lot darker than my B00. So you'll see me kind of go in and touch my lighter color tip to this darker part, this darker marker. And I just kind of like where the ink bled out is where I kind of grabbed that and blended it really nicely. So this die set has some bows that you can put on. I didn't include making those bows because I didn't end up using them in the end, and they don't go together any different than any other kind of paper bow. If you're interested in how those get put together, I can make like a little quickie video to post on my Instagram if you are interested on how those go together, but I thought for sake of time for this video, I wouldn't include it since I didn't use them. But I did use the scraps from my boxes to cut them out. So I put a few of these little images together. Like I put the bunny ears on this chick. I put the other one in half an eggshell. I have one of them sitting on an egg. So I went ahead and just used some liquid glue to put those on together and then onto the box as well. The liquid glue is great because it just needs a little bit, and then you have a moment or two to kind of maneuver it if you want to change your placement. So I do apologize that I'm kind of off screen a little bit putting these together. Sometimes I just get so into what I'm doing, I forget to look up to make sure I'm in frame. These were so fun to put together. I liked kind of sticking the images up from the box a little bit, especially because I was stacking them on top of one another. And that added just a little bit of fun to the little stack. And if you haven't seen what that looks like yet, you can head over to my Instagram page or to the Scrapping for Less blog. There's a picture there where you can see what that looks like when they're kind of standing up. It'd be a fun little countdown to Easter, or you could just put little treats in there, like if you were having some kids come over, just you could do just about anything. So I just thought these were really adorable. So once I have all my little images put together, I'm going to grab some sparkle because no paper crafting project is complete without a little glitter. This particular project, I'm using the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. My Wink of Stella is pretty much out, not to the point where I've thrown it away yet, but definitely to the point where I have moved on to the sparkle pen, which I actually really like more than the Wink of Stella glitter brush pen. I feel like it spreads more evenly. There's always like this glittery goodness at the end. You don't kind of have to constantly squeeze the little tip to bring the glitter part down, if that makes sense. So I just really liked it. So now that I have all of my boxes together, now's the fun part. So I went ahead and grabbed some chocolates from my husband's chocolate stash, and we're going to go ahead and put those in. These are just those little square candies that you can get in the multi bag. they fit in here really nicely. You could also probably put some jelly beans or M&Ms or whatever. So thank you so very much for joining me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, hit that subscribe button. Bye.